serious. I'm not going to sit back and take this fucking shit.
I apologize. I will tell Jinder to delete the tweet. Let's just calm down now.
This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Tony.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. You don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
Oh, that's good. Those videos never get old. You probably recognize the voice to be Triple H, but did anybody recognize what that voice was for Tony Khan? I sure remember it well. Anybody out there? Shout out to anybody who recognized that voice of Tony Khan. It was R. Kelly. I'm pretty sure it was R. Kelly. Big props to whoever did that. We are one Monday Night Raw away from the go home to the Royal Rumble. Only one more Raw before the Royal Rumble, and only one more Raw before the return. The Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show 2 weeks from today returns. And if you're not aware of it already, check out that Discord link. By the way, it is free. I think some people are confused. If you want to join us live in 2 weeks on Monday nights, dtkcdiscord.com. It is free to join, free to listen. And a little plug. Even though we're officially coming back to Monday nights in 2 weeks, we are going to do a show prior to that on Tuesday, the 23rd. Oh, that's a little too small. The 23rd of January, next Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 at 10:15 p.m., Kevin and I will be on Discord doing your Royal Rumble preview and prediction show. That's going to be a little test run to make sure everything is smooth going into the Monday after the Rumble. So make sure you join us. There's an old phrase, you snooze, you lose. Kevin and I are no longer going to settle for being people's second and third choice. And let me tell you something. I know it sounds a little cocky. I know it sounds a little bit of bragging. But when you see WWE superstars and an AEW superstar liking and retweeting Kevin I's hype over the last couple of days for the return of the DTKC show, it's fucking awesome. Gives us a nice little confidence boost that there's still people out there that enjoy what we do, and that's why we're coming back. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait. I'm pumped. By the way, if you did not check out yesterday's episode of The Sit Down, we had a fun episode, and yes, we did discuss the WWE releases and Jack Perry, who made their appearances on TNA and New Japan Pro Wrestling TV. So definitely go check that out. And in a few moments, shout out to Will Chisholm. If he happens to be tuning in, whether live or on a recap, I did not see your super shout out yesterday until I went off the air. I promise you I will get into it in a few minutes. You will be first and foremost before everyone. So my sincere apologies there. Did you see the thumbnail for today's episode? We talked about it last Monday, when we saw that graphic of R-Truth and the Judgment Day on like sweaters, you knew that son of a bitch was going to be on WWE Shop. And lo and behold, WWE is selling that Judgment Day shirt with R-Truth on it. And if you see my thumbnail, I put mirror, mirror, little shout out to Star Trek 1967, one of my favorite Star Trek episodes of all time. But I think people are starting to figure it out. Yes, a lot of Hall of Famers and wrestlers who do podcasts still haven't put two and two together. But right before our very eyes, we are getting the Bloodline Sami Zayn storyline recycled into R-Truth and the Judgment Day. Am I complaining? Absolutely not. I am one that do not mind seeing storylines recycled if they are entertaining. If it's jumping the shark, then I would say no. But it's pretty obvious now. You got Sami Zayn in the Bloodline and Jey Uso at the time not really feeling it. Roman Reigns not really feeling it. Jimmy Uso kind of being a little bit sympathetic to Sami Zayn, and we got it right before our very eyes. Damian Priest playing the role of Jimmy Uso, maybe ultimately Jey Uso, and R-Truth playing Sami Zayn. And that's where it's going. I mean, if you see the similarities are pretty obvious. And even tonight, Damian Priest torn about getting, physical with R-Truth. R-Truth greasing his palm earlier tonight, selling merchandise in the parking lot. By the way, I don't mean to be a dick, but I got to say it. When I saw trending on Twitter that fans made such a big deal that we actually saw Seth Rollins' breath because it was cold, I immediately think about CM Punk's remark about go outside and go touch grass. Little breaking news for people out there that don't go out anymore because you sit on your computers all day long. When you do go outside and it gets below 40 degrees, 35 degrees, if you breathe because your breath is about 98 degrees, you're going to see condensation. You're going to see mist. You're going to see smoke, whatever you want to call it. As people made such a big fucking deal like, oh, I see Seth Rollins' breath. It must be cold. It could have been 40 degrees and you would have saw it. Here's a little tidbit for those that want to know. In Little Rock, Arkansas today, people thought that there was this big snowstorm going on outside. If you saw Jinder Mahal's SUV pull up, there was no snow on it. There was no weather. They did have bad weather recently, but they are dealing with bitter, arguably record cold temperatures. And I think it was 10 degrees out there today. And it's so bad that schools are closed tomorrow because of the bitter cold. That's how bad the weather is. So that's why, you saw his breath. And let me also add this too. They were doing the backstage segments in the back garage area. They did not do it in a studio. They were having some problems with heat, but they were doing it in the back, and that's why you saw some of the cold when Jackie Redmond was doing some interview segments. Not every interview segment had that, but they were conducting some in the garage area, and there's no heat there. So that's why we got what we got. But I just want to give everybody a little bit of the behind-the-scenes weather so you understand what was going on. Very, very rare to hear Michael Cole acknowledge a low crowd turnout. I mean, even when there was weather in the past and there would be low crowds, they would acknowledge the weather, but they would never, ever bring up that the turnout was very small. That crowd was pretty good tonight. I really can't complain about it. In OK Raw, the Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes segment, adding a little bit of personal with the Dashing Ones and their match that they had in Mexico, I think in 2017, prior to Drew Galloway returning to the WWE as Drew McIntyre. There's a little added personal touch to it. but it was kind of like the CM Punk Drew McIntyre confrontation redone with Cody Rhodes. And by the way, Becky Lynch, her promo to Rhea Ripley, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but, we'll recap Raw. Don't have to spend an hour on it, but we'll recap Raw in a little bit. I'm just getting into a couple of things that come off the top of my head. Becky Lynch cutting a great promo exchange with Rhea Ripley tonight, but two things that I got out of it. First off, Becky Lynch should have cut that promo after winning the Royal Rumble. If you really listen to it back, she should have won the Royal Rumble first and then say all of this. Because if she doesn't win the Rumble, unless she wins the Chamber, it's moot point. Everything that she said sounds like a promo that you would cut after you win the Royal Rumble, and you make your choice. That leads me to point number 2. When Becky Lynch said that, I'm starting to think that you're better than me, and I got to prove it to myself. I got to win this championship. I need this championship. I must defeat you. Didn't that sound like Rhea Ripley toward Charlotte Flair last year? Certainly did to me. So you see how things do get refurbished, sometimes very quick. But if you like it, you shouldn't mind it. But it's pretty obvious that R-Truth is now playing Sami Zayn. And R-Truth does a great job with it. Now, with that said, I think it's pretty easy to figure it out that they're going to take their time with R-Truth and, where that goes with the Judgment Day, because they're selling merchandise. They're going to continue a little bit of the comedy. They're going to continue Damian Priest being a little bit sympathetic for R-Truth. Who knows? Maybe R-Truth ends up helping Damian Priest win a championship down the line. But as long as that shirt sells and sells well, remember what Paul Heyman said early on about Sami Zayn in an interview last year, that nobody expected Sami Zayn to click as good as he did with the Bloodline. No one had ever projected to have it work that much. And look what it did. It literally led to the Elimination Chamber match with Roman Reigns. Of course, there was no chance of him winning it, despite people trying to convince you otherwise last year. But Sami Zayn took it and ran with it. And the crowd, there were times that we were not happy with Sami Zayn, pretty obvious. I mean, a lot of you know my history with it. But, we all in recent years beloved Sami Zayn. And we saw a different Sami Zayn, a vulnerable, naive, kind of innocent, just wants to, fit in, my dog, and it just worked. So now you got them doing it with R-Truth. And as long as that shirt sells well, and as long as the crowd is loving this will continue. And it will continue. Rhea Ripley is kind of like the Roman Reigns of this faction, if you really, really think about it. Now obviously there's no wise man. It's not exactly like the Bloodline, but the foundation is the same. When you build a house, you kind of start pretty much with the same frame, and then how you build it afterwards, houses look completely different, but the frame itself is very similar in nature. So this is what we got right now. So this is going to last for a little while. Obviously, there's a big difference here, and I'm sure most of you are figuring it out already. We're very close to WrestleMania. We're only a little more than 2 months away. So even if this blows up as big as Sami Zayn does, WWE has an agenda with Damian Priest at WrestleMania. WWE has an agenda with Damian Priest and Finn Balor. WWE has an agenda with Damian Priest getting removed from the Judgment Day, either willingly or unwillingly. And that is not going to change. All right. R-Truth, with all due respect, people out there believe one day Sami Zayn will be World Heavyweight Champion. At this stage of the game, R-Truth is kind of like ice cream after a big dinner. Like R-Truth is at the tail end of his career. We know he looks spectacular. R-Truth is comedy. R-Truth makes us smile, makes us laugh, makes us feel good. He is not going to get pushed to the top to win World Heavyweight Championship gold, no matter what anybody thinks. So this will be sped up, no matter how good this turns out. And, we'll see where it goes. But this is pretty much where we're at right now. And again, I'm not complaining. Not complaining at all. It works well. JD McDonough obviously is easy prey with this, and it's pretty funny where R-Truth has got fucking stacks of money, and he's greasing the palms of Finn Balor and Damian Priest, and even Dominic Mysterio, hugging Dominic Mysterio, and JD's like, where's mine? And R-Truth still thinks, you're not in Judgment Day. You don't get nothing. Damian Priest even saying to JD McDonough earlier, your name's not on the shirt. You don't get nothing. So JD McDonough obviously is the one person next to Dom that you want to see, be the jerk in this storyline. The Bloodline, you really didn't have jerks. Jey Uso was sort of a jerk to Sami before they obviously... You remember with the Elimination Chamber, not the Elimination Chamber, with War Games. Remember when everybody won and Sami, cheap shotted Kevin Owens and everybody had their hands raised? Remember the look on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso's eyes on Sami Zayn when they won? You remember my thumbnail, Dead Man Using? And ultimately that's where that ended up going. But Jey Uso was not on the same page with Sami Zayn at that time. Later on, changed the story. I guess what we're waiting for is R-Truth and Sami Zayn to have a segment together. We have not had that happen yet, and they're both on Raw, so we will see. We shall see. So, how was everybody's weekend? Mine was okay under the circumstances. Don't need to repeat what transpired in the last couple of days. Or if you know what I'm talking about, when it rains, it pours. Had, unfortunately, more than one passing. But I thank you all for the kind words once again. And just a reminder, dtkcdiscord.com. I would hate for anybody to say, oh, man, I wanted to tune in, but I didn't sign up and I didn't get there in time. Once the show starts, there's nothing we can do. We're not tech support. We could just pause the show and then try to, help somebody out. We're not doing that. So couple of news tidbits before we get into anything else. And by the way, it's just really not a news tidbit, but I figured there's enough of you out there that probably would want to know this. Cody Rhodes posted his schedule for the month of January. And, for those that are interested, his schedule is absolutely loaded. In addition to working all of the Raw episodes leading into the Royal Rumble, he is going to be working SmackDown on Friday. I probably off camera. He's doing the super shows this weekend. And on Monday, a week from today, you saw it in my synopsis this afternoon. And, shout out to everybody who's like, where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from? CM Punk and Cody Rhodes will have a confrontation to open up. I hope they do it at hour 2 next week. I don't want to see it open up Raw because the remaining 2 hours and 45 minutes is going to kind of fall flat. That's the go-home Raw before the Royal Rumble. So I think you hold Cody Rhodes and CM Punk to hour 2 at minimum. But they are going to have a face-to-face. Now, Gunther proclaimed himself in the Royal Rumble tonight. We all knew Gunther was already in the Rumble. But on the betting websites, they have quickly shot Gunther as the second favorite to win the Royal Rumble. It is still showing CM Punk. But I kind of think CM Punk has no shot at winning the Royal Rumble. And over the weekend, I'm sure a lot of you know this already, CM Punk has been announced for the Elimination Chamber in February. Bronson Reed tonight, and I know I'm going a little bit back and forth, but I'm trying to keep a lot of the news together. Bronson Reed on Raw tonight, do not fall for the clickbait and attempts by people just to have a conversation about it. Do you remember when Shinsuke Nakamura was calling someone out saying their privilege and everything else, and people were saying some wacky shit like, oh, he's calling out CM Punk. Oh, he's calling out this part. I think we were the only show that first said, no, he's calling out Cody Rhodes, and that's exactly what happened. Bronson Reed tonight kind of did the same thing. You know, like he has his eyes on a champion right now, and that champion doesn't even know it. And in my opinion, this is not news, but in my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious to figure this out. It is Gunther, and it is the Elimination Chamber. It is in Australia. Bronson Reed is from Australia. Bronson Reed will be cheered out of the fucking building. You're not going to have Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins. That would be kind of rough. I think he's calling out Gunther, especially, you know, when you think of this dynamics. And remember, this is leading into WrestleMania. You know, Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed, although probably a decent match at Elimination Chamber, I don't think anybody is really wanting that. So it seems like Bronson Reed will have a title shot at Elimination Chamber, which means he's not going to be in the chamber match. You know, that's very important. So that chamber match, you know, looks a little bit different. Now, CM Punk confirmed for the Elimination Chamber, that tells me he's going to be in the chamber. That tells me, would not be surprised if he wins that match. And I have to say this too. If you came to the WWE not to make friends, but to make money and main event WrestleMania. Okay, I'm just talking storyline right now. I think what I'm about to say, 99.9% of you will agree with. Just using common sense for a minute. If CM Punk does not like Seth Rollins in real life, which is true, but they've kind of calmed things for the betterment of the company, professionalism, you know, working as a team, blah, 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 blah. But if CM Punk came back to the WWE to make money, to main event WrestleMania, why would he not choose Roman Reigns over Seth Rollins? Why? Isn't the bigger match the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, managed by the wise man, Paul Heyman? Common sense would tell you CM Punk coming back to the WWE, you win the Royal Rumble. There's only one choice to make. I don't care what CM Punk says. If you want to piss off CM Punk, if CM Punk wants to piss off Seth Rollins storyline-wise, even more of a reason, I'm not going to give you the time of day. I'm not going to give you the acknowledgement. I'm going to take on Roman Reigns. Sometimes the biggest cheap shot you could give someone is to not acknowledge them. There are so many people out there in social media land and podcast land that when you ignore them, you act like they don't exist, that burns even more than calling them out. So why would CM Punk not choose Roman Reigns? That's why I don't think CM Punk is winning the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble will be won by whoever is going to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And obviously, Cody Rhodes is that person. Yes, very predictable at this stage of the game. But as you heard me say 2 times in the last 2 weeks, between now and WrestleMania, expect at least one dusty finish. Come on, Dusty Rhodes is the center of this. You got to get a dusty finish along the way. The dusty finish could happen at Mania. The dusty finish could happen at the Rumble. The dusty finish could happen at both. You don't know. And there's not just one dusty finish. There's more than one. If you are creative and the fans love it, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So, shout out to Casey is Raw. Wow. Channel member for 2 years. Pretty freaking cool, man. Pretty cool. I appreciate that. Much love. So, CM Punk at the Chamber, that tells me he's not winning the Rumble. Now, Dave Meltzer is reporting this. And look, I don't want anybody to be like, oh, roll the eyes, Dave Meltzer. Listen, I get it. I get it about his agenda. I get it about his favoritism for AEW. I get it about, exaggerating things at times. But he does have sources, and he does get some things right. All right. He may not get 100% right. Maybe in some people's eyes, he doesn't get 50% right. But he is reporting that Roman Reigns is not scheduled to appear at the Elimination Chamber in Australia and at Backlash in France. That's a big enough story for us to mention it here. If you want to say it about somebody lower on the food chain, I get it. When you make the claim that France and Germany, yes, WWE is Cody Rhodes, WWE is CM Punk, WWE is Seth Rollins, WWE is Gunther, WWE has top tier talent. LA Knight, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, you go on and on and on. We have to stop short and say, look, Roman Reigns is no longer, the sole draw, the biggest draw for WWE. So if he does not appear, of course, the roster is strong enough that you're getting your money's worth. But since Roman Reigns is not going to go to Australia, with the amount of money that is being spent, with the amount of publicity that is being made, with the amount of history, premium live event, and France, premium live event, WWE planning 2024 to be a tremendous, huge international year for revenue. How do you top 2023? You have many more international dates in 2024. Because WWE doesn't often come to a lot of countries. So if they come to a country, not only are they going to sell really, really well, but the tickets are going to be more expensive than you expected. And because WWE does rarely ever go to Australia, rarely go over to France, rarely go over to others, people will pay a little bit extra. Hey, this might be my only shot that WWE comes to my area ever again, as crazy as that sounds. And the fact that WWE, this is not Roman Reigns' fault. I'm not defending Roman Reigns here. This is WWE. This is how the contract has been structured. This is WWE's decision. And I think it's pretty shitty for Australia, and I think it's pretty shitty for France that the undisputed WWE Universal Champion has the title for well over 1,000 days, getting close to Hulk Hogan's record, and that guy doesn't appear. Even if The Rock shows up, and I think The Rock could very well show up at the chamber, call out Roman Reigns, he's not here. He's not here. Then somebody else will come out, maybe Dominic Mysterio, and then The Rock will give somebody a rock bottom, and everybody is happy anyway, but in the back of your mind, like, wow, WWE, that's fucked up. No Roman Reigns at the chamber, no Roman Reigns at Backlash. What happened to Nick Aldis' storyline? What happened to Triple H's comments? Telling the fans, oh, you don't show up, we got, blah, blah, blah. Even Nick Aldis in storyline. In storyline, they look like goofs. They're letting Roman Reigns do whatever the fuck he wants. Again, this is not Roman Reigns' fault. This is not storyline. This is WWE's decision. And that sucks. But here's the thing. Yesterday on the sit-down, we were talking about the idea of Cody Rhodes versus The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. And I would be fine with that. And Cody absolutely would still finish the story. This would reminisce Daniel Bryan with Triple H and Dave Bautista. When Dave Bautista returned and everybody thought that Bautista was going to fuck up Daniel Bryan's chances of becoming world heavyweight champion, and the Yes Movement pushed him over the line, Daniel Bryan still became world heavyweight champion. Was that WrestleMania 30? Almost 10 years to the day. So if Cody ends up facing The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, I don't think it hurts Cody Rhodes one bit. I think when people look back at the annals of history, it'll be like, hey, he beat Roman Reigns and he beat The Rock. The only thing is, Cody Rhodes will have to pin Roman Reigns. He has to pin Roman Reigns. It cannot be a scenario where he pins The Rock and becomes World Heavyweight Champion. So that leaves us to WrestleMania 41. We had a brief conversation about it yesterday, and my DMs this morning, they filled up a little bit, people that matter, and said, DT, it's actually more, you're onto something more than you realize. That the idea of WWE having a year-long storyline again with The Rock and Roman Reigns for WrestleMania 41 is not out of the question. If The Rock appears at Chamber and Roman doesn't, Roman versus The Rock one-on-one is not happening before WrestleMania 40. Could it happen in Saudi Arabia? Absolutely. We even talked about that maybe 6 or 7 months ago. WWE makes more money for one Saudi event than they make for WrestleMania. So when people say, oh, WrestleMania payday, look at all the Peacock subscriptions. If The Rock main events WrestleMania against Roman, they still make more money in Saudi Arabia for one night. So you got to let that sink in. And you're not going to screw up Cody's 2-year story because you're going to get The Rock back for one night. So WrestleMania 41, not out of the question. It's definitely something that is, no pun intended, on the table. So keep that in the back of your mind, because if Roman ends up not appearing at the Chamber, not appearing at Backlash, Roman versus The Rock one-on-one is not happening before WrestleMania 40. And it is not replacing Cody Rhodes. Do not even let that enter your head. I will stop doing shows if that happens. You're not, you might do a dusty finish somewhere, somehow, but it's not happening. It's just logical. It's not happening. That would be just taking 2 years of a build and flushing it down the toilet for a brief moment of ecstasy. You're not going to throw that away for that. Sorry. There's no reason to do that. And anybody trying to convince you otherwise is just trying to get you to have a conversation that really is not necessary. So, couple other news tidbits to bring up. We got 3 health updates. And, look, it just not good. Not good. First of all, let's bring up Cora Jade first. Cora Jade, over the weekend, we talked about it on Saturday's show, that she had a title match against Lyra Valkyria in Florida. And early in the match, she faked an injury. But towards the end of the match, she was on the mat and holding her leg. And people truly believed that it was not a fake the second time around. She was helped to the back by officials. She had an MRI over the weekend, and the MRI is determined that she tore her ACL and tore her MCL. She is out of action for 6 to 9 months minimum. She just came back after a 4+ month absence. Just a horrible, horrible bad break for Cora Jade. Kind of reminds me of Tegan Knox, what happened with Tegan Knox, not too long ago. Just very bad luck. And listen, any people out there even insinuating that WWE is a sloppy shop and WWE is getting injury prone, tell those people to blow you, because WWE has, 3 brands, and Charlotte unfortunately slipped on a rope and Cora Jade twisted her knee. It is life. It happens. Sometimes, look, even in my insurance business, I have people sometimes that get no tickets for 10 years and then get 3 in a matter of a month. Sometimes shit happens. And just because you get 2 injuries, these are people that, because AEW has had a slew of, injuries that could have been prevented, that, okay, let me now give it to WWE in return. This is not the same. This is not the same. How's about instead, best wishes go out to Cora Jade, and you leave it at that. So that is what's going on with her. This one hits home for me for a couple of reasons. And I got to show you something. You'll get a kick out of it. Best wishes go out to Afa, Pops, Afa Hanoi, one half of the Wild Samoans. He was in the hospital last week, had 2 mild heart attacks. He is doing well now and is home, but he is about to have what my mom had 5-6 years ago. And that was scary shit, because a lot of you know what happened at that time. 2 times my mom was clinically pronounced dead because of this. He has to get valve replacement surgery. One of his valves, and I know this very well because of what happened with my mom, when you have a bad valve in your heart, sometimes the valve deteriorates so much that it cannot be repaired. And what they're probably going to do is they're going to give him a valve from a pig and change it. And that is a very, very, very serious surgery. And, not only that, you could have complications, and the valve doesn't last forever. From what I understand, 10 years, you might have to go and have it replaced. Now, he's 81 years old. So we just hope that he can get through this. But valve replacement surgery is serious shit. I got a kick out of Pops. That's his nickname. If anybody's ever gone to his school, I have a couple of friends that were close. Afa used to be close with Georgianne Metropolis. And indirectly, I would communicate. And he, even when we did the Conan Drive way back when, he offered, to raise a couple of dollars, indirectly in other ways. So I always have a little bit of extra love for Pops. But what was cool about this, if you look close, the motherfucker was signing autographs in the hospital bed for the nurses and the doctors. I mean, this guy's 81 years old, Hall of Famer, and this guy's in his hospital bed signing autographs for the nurses and the doctors. I thought that was pretty cool. So, sorry, these are stories that you're probably not going to see covered anywhere else, but I want to bring them up anyway. And we got one more health update to bring up. And oh my God, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I don't follow this guy. I know he worked NYWC once or twice here in Long Island, and his name has come across on the Northeast before, but I haven't followed his career much. And you want to hear bad news, just unlucky news? I don't know how many of you out there know this guy. He's been working in NWA as Black G's, BLKJEEZ, Black G's. His real name is Darnell Cottrell. And I am assuming that he lives in Philly. And last week, he was carjacked. Now, he has a gun permit. He has a concealed carry permit. So he had a gun on him. And he was able to fend off the carjackers, but they got into a shootout and he got shot in the hip. So, he was rushed to the hospital. He's okay. Local news covered it as well. But get a load of this. I didn't even know it. I think he got shot on the 11th of January. On the 13th of January, he was supposed to work an event, I believe, in Florida. And that was his first match back. Yeah, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He had blood cancer. So he was out of action for a while. And I did a little research, and they set up a GoFundMe page a little over a year ago, and he had some serious issues with blood cancer. So this guy battles back from cancer, makes a recovery enough that he can return to wrestling, is going to make his triumphant return on January 13th, and 2 days before he gets shot in the ass, shot in the hip. Unfucking believable, right? Unbelievable. If you are familiar with him, or even if you're not go on social media, Twitter, and give him a little shout out. Tell him best wishes. I think it would make him feel pretty good. But how crazy is that, man? You get cancer, you fight it, you get back, you're all pumped, you're psyched. I'm going to go to Florida and I'm going to work a show. And then 2 days before you get shot, somebody tries to carjack your car. Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. We always acknowledge beauty on these shows. I don't care if you like your M&Ms plain or with peanuts, but Mandy Rose posted a couple of pictures over the weekend that she went to some type of an establishment and hung out with a couple of former WWE, well, a couple of existing WWE stars, but she's the former WWE star. She was with Sonya Deville, and, you know, Sonya Deville is still on the road to recovery for her torn ACL. She has only been out of action now for 6 months, I believe. So she probably still has minimum another month or two before she could possibly return. It could be longer than that, but she was hanging out with Sonya Deville and she was hanging out with Liv Morgan. So there's a couple of pictures of them hanging out over the weekend. And, you know, who knows? Could we see a Mandy Rose in the Royal Rumble this year? Could she make a return? I think this year is going to have the most surprises in recent memory. Will the surprises be strong? I don't want to disrespect any current WWE stars, but you know, you're going to get Sheamus. You know, you obviously going to get Andrade. You know, we're going to get, you know, possibly some Hall of Famers like Sean Waltman and others, but some wrestlers who have been out of action will make their returns at the Royal Rumble. So even though you haven't seen someone in a while, they're still on the roster. It's not really a surprise, but it is. So that's why I was a little surprised that we got Xavier Woods back today. But Xavier Woods, you know, went at it with Ludwig Kaiser, and it was rinse and repeat, you know, what happened last week with Kofi Kingston. But, you know, this time around, Xavier Woods is the one getting disqualified and getting a little revenge on Ludwig Kaiser. And then this kind of segues now into Jey Uso. Will we see a Jey Uso Ludwig Kaiser feud? I think after the Royal Rumble, we may see Ludwig Kaiser start to get the singles push that we've all been anticipating for a while now. But so I wanted to give you a couple of health updates before we go any further. So we've done that. And, you know, one more thing, actually two more. You know, like I said, this afternoon, I posted that next week, Cody Rhodes and CM Punk will have a face-to-face on Raw. This was a post that CM Punk posted on his Instagram early this evening, and he just basically said, I think it's time you asked me what I want to talk about at American Nightmare Cody. So next week, face-to-face. Cards are on the table, and the cards have been accepted. Next week on Raw, we are going to get CM Punk and Cody Rhodes face-to-face. To me, the two biggest favorites to win the Royal Rumble. Next week, we're also going to have Drew McIntyre take on Damian Priest. Obviously, with the main event tonight with Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal, you knew this was coming. I think we all expected Drew McIntyre to come out. As soon as we saw Damian Priest at ringside, there was no way that Drew McIntyre was going to let Damian Priest cash in tonight. So they will have a match next week. And it'll be interesting to see how many cheers Damian Priest gets. Will not be surprised. R-Truth will probably be in his corner. Just get a little bit of extra cheers out of it. Or maybe R-Truth shows up during the match. Next week also we're going to get Chad Gable versus Ivar. The Smoke and Mirrors tour for Ivar continues. Last week, we just had that conversation last week about Ivar and the Smoke and Mirrors that WWE's been doing. He's only, won 3 matches as a singles last year, and I think one was against Tozawa, one was against Kofi, and one was against, I don't remember who it was. He had like 3 or 4 wins, like nothing. So tonight, he takes on Akira Tozawa. And what do you think happens? Just based on what we talked about last week, what do you think happens? Oh, yeah, Akira Tozawa gets squashed, right? No. Akira Tozawa gets the fucking win. Yes, fans popped. You know, you pop for the underdog. You root for the underdog. You're starting to see now that it's like, let's make Ivar appear to be in contention. Let's make Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell appear to be in contention. Let's even have Natalya and Tegan Nox appear to be in contention. Let's have Isla Dawn and Alba Fire appear to be in contention. Because no one is really standing out. And that's, I think, one of the biggest problems that WWE is facing right now in some of their divisions. You try to make everybody see in line. How many people did you come across 2 months ago that really believed that Chad Gable was going to remain in the hunt for the Intercontinental Championship? People actually thought that Chad Gable was going to very, very soon beat Gunther for that title, or he was going to remain in that contention. He was still going to go for it. And then we revealed what Chad Gable's record has been like for the last couple of months. And then you realize they're not just smoke and mirrors. You see Otis. I think Otis had one win in 2023 as a singles guy. One. And if I remember correctly, I was against Drew Gulak, correct? So when you start breaking it down, you may think something is being built on the shows, but then when you read between the lines, what WWE is doing is, nobody is a jobber. But what was the big argument that people seem to have forgot about with Triple H in the last year and a half? Last year, since Vince McMahon started stepping down. What was the one thing that we heard about Triple H, for quite some time? And then it seemed to be ignored after Vince. 50-50 booking. How many years did everybody talk about this stupid mentality with Triple H and 50-50 booking? Do you notice how no one ever brings that up anymore? Because Triple H, that meme with Elmo, with the fire, people have to convince you that Triple H is the Antichrist, or Vince McMahon is the Antichrist and Triple H is the savior. Triple H is completely different. You're not supposed to think that Triple H has been part of the WWE machine for 3+ decades. You're not supposed to think that Triple H could possibly have the same mindset. Look at tonight on Raw. I went dizzy. People like, well, Kevin Dunn is gone, but, Kevin Dunn's employees are still there. Go watch back some of Raw tonight. Look at all the camera shots. Take a shot every time you see a camera change in some of the matches. Look at the one with Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough against DIY. You'll get dizzy. Nobody talks about it. It's fucking worse. It was worse today. But I want to segue to DIY. Because I got to give credit where credit is due. And something happened tonight on Raw that doesn't normally happen. And it proves something about wrestlers and why sometimes, no matter how good they are, no matter how good they appear to be in NXT, but you bring them to the main roster and it's a whole different ballgame. Tonight, DIY showed something that really exposes something that really needs to stick on WWE television. So let's cover Raw because they were the first match. So I'll get into them in a moment. But obviously tonight, all the hype was the main event of Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal. If you heard yesterday's sit down, I was asked, I think by Maggie, what do I think was going to happen with the match tonight? And I said, Indus Sher is probably going to show up. They're probably going to get involved. The only thing was who's going to get involved on the opposite side to allow Seth to get the win. I thought maybe the Creed brothers, who Drew McIntyre, stops Damian Priest. Damian Priest is a stupid idiot. That continues for 2 weeks in a row. But Cody Rhodes, they advertised that he was going to be opening up Raw tonight. So obviously a light crowd due to the horrible weather going on in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he hits the ring. And Cody Rhodes he's referencing a song by Colin Ray. It's called Little Rock. I don't think I've ever heard it. Maybe I have. I doubt it. And he mentions that the Royal Rumble is just around the corner. And before he can really talk about anything, he gets interrupted by Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre hits the ring, and, they have a little bit of a confrontation. And he gets on the mic and he says, "So, Cody, what do you want to talk about?" And Drew McIntyre brings up how far they go back. They're similar in age, similar career paths. And he says that he is truly proud of Cody. And he brings up, the man that Cody Rhodes has become. He's proud of what Cody has become. He's proud of the performer Cody Rhodes has become. He reminds us all that they were tag champs at one point, and they were the dashing ones. I did check that out, and I totally forgot that as well. And, Drew with a little sarcasm, "Man, I can't believe we didn't go far with that name." And then he says, "We both left. We didn't embrace the opportunity that was given to us. We thought we were single stars. We left WWE. We got our heads screwed on straight. We left and we laid the blueprint to become undeniable. And WWE had to call us back." And Drew McIntyre brings up the last match that he had before he came back to the WWE, and it was against Cody Rhodes. And Drew says, "Cody, do you remember what you said to me that night? You said that I will be a future world champion." And he's right. He became a two-time champion. And Drew McIntyre, with some very kind words to Cody Rhodes, he says, "You keep doing what you're doing. You keep focused. You keep the eye on the prize, and you will be the first Rhodes in your family to hold that World Heavyweight Championship. The only thing is, not before me. I'm finishing my story at WrestleMania." And that gets a slew of boos from the fans. So Drew McIntyre, the gist of the confrontation tonight is Drew truly has respect for Cody, appreciates Cody. They have similar paths, and he thinks Cody will, in fact, finish his story. But Drew's got to finish his first. And Cody, he's got a problem with that. He brings up how Jey Uso could win the Rumble, CM Punk could win the Rumble. That led to CM Punk chants, and Cody says that, he is focused. He's going to finish his story. And Drew McIntyre then has to go a little heelish, a little against what he's been doing. He's like, "Man," he's like, "can you just stop smiling all the time? That's not you. I know the true Cody. You smile all the time. You wear a suit all the time. You're not running for office. Let yourself out a little bit. And if anybody has a problem with that, you pop them and knock them on their ass. They're harsh. They're harsh." And Cody Rhodes says, this is me. This is not a front. And Cody says, "Yeah, we are very similar. But there's one very big difference. I am very grateful for my opportunity. And I am focused on this and on this, being the ring and the fans." He says, "All I hear you is bitching and complaining." And ultimately, this leads to Drew exiting, Cody exiting. No fisticuffs. We saved that for the Royal Rumble. Last week, no fisticuffs with Drew and CM Punk. CM Punk says, "Hey, Drew, I'm a nice guy. I'm a generous guy. I'm going to make sure I eliminate you last." So now you got Drew, and you got Punk, and you got Cody. And if you heard my show yesterday, and we were trying to figure out the final 5 and the final 6 in the Royal Rumble, and the most amazing thing about it is, out of the 6 finalists in the Royal Rumble, 5 of them might be from Raw. I think Cody Rhodes will be in those final 6. CM Punk will be in those final 6. Jey Uso will probably be in those final 6. Sami Zayn, if he is healthy, which I believe that he is, he will be in the finals. Then you'd start thinking of a few others. Drew McIntyre could very well be in those finals. There's 5 guys right there, and they're all from Raw. And you say to yourself, who is going to be on SmackDown? It's not going to be Randy. It's not going to be AJ Styles. It's not going to be LA Knight. They have their match with Roman. See, Fatal 4-Way is going to be fun. And yes, you could tease the scenario that Roman could lose the belt without being pinned. And that's fine. And Roman will probably sneak out a win. Somebody will probably get RKO'd or blunt force trauma hit. And then Roman will sneak the victory. So the problem with that is now you took 3 legitimate, bona fide, main eventers, and you eliminated them from being in the 30-man over-the-top battle royal because Roman, AJ, and LA Knight are not in it. So, you start looking at that. Somebody said Bobby Lashley. That is definitely a possibility. But do not be, well, I should say is be prepared that the majority, Gunther, there you go, Gunther. We may have 5, if not 6, of all the final 6 in the Royal Rumble, all from Raw. And isn't that amazing that they'll all be from Raw, and yet the winner is going to challenge Roman? Seth is not in it. Seth is not. What's Seth going to do at the Royal Rumble? Did they even address that? What is Seth doing at the Royal Rumble? Is he having a match? How is he involved? Are we getting anything with Seth Rollins at the Rumble? No one has talked about that. I'm a little curious. You want Seth to have something, right? We'll see. Morning, Luke. It's morning where he's at. So, good fun segment to open up Monday Night Raw tonight. We had a backstage segment with R-Truth and Damian Priest, and if you saw my opening, we don't need to repeat the deal with the references, the similarities with the Bloodline and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn didn't hawk Judgment Day merchandise in the parking lot. God bless R-Truth. Maybe R-Truth was making all of this money because maybe people were just trying to get warm. Like they were just showing up at the building. I'm freezing tight. Hey, Judgment Day shirt. It'll keep you warm. $100. So Damian Priest confronts R-Truth. Hey, I heard you selling Judgment Day merchandise in the parking lot. You're embarrassing us. That's not good. R-Truth takes out a wad of cash, and he's like, this is your cut. Damian Priest is looking at the money, and R-Truth's like, And Damian Priest is like, all right, you could sell the merchandise. Just keep it on the low. And by the way, our tag match later on, do not tag in. And R-Truth is a little confused, and R-Truth is like, oh, okay, I get it. Do not tag in. Early in the match, R-Truth is in there first, and Michael Cole's like, well, it's actually true. If he doesn't tag the Miz in, he's actually, doing, but obviously that would fall apart pretty quickly. So now I got to spend a couple of quick moments about DIY. And believe me when I tell you, there was one other thing. I would be pissed if I didn't mention this with R-Truth and Damian Priest. R-Truth keeps referencing Dominic and J.D. McDonough as Tom and Nick. And Damian Priest is like, Tom and Nick? And R-Truth is like, is Nick okay? I can't find him on Facebook. And Damian Priest almost lost it. You could see Damian Priest more than one occasion trying to hold back the laughter. And the thing with R-Truth is he is such a funny guy in real life. He's one of those that you just can't help but laugh. So this dynamic, that's why it's working. You feel natural vibes. It's natural chemistry. Sometimes you can't force that chemistry. So R-Truth and Damian Priest, that chemistry is there. Don't force it. But ultimately, Damian Priest may be forced to make a decision, and then maybe Damian Priest makes the wrong decision. Maybe right for us, but not for Judgment Day. So we got to talk for a minute about DIY versus Dominic Mysterio and Jada McDonough. And in the end, DIY got the win. Now, this was pretty wild. Because if you go back and you watch the beginning of this match, I beg you, out of anything I say tonight, do this just for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Watch the very beginning of the match, well, even before, when DIY's music hits. You hear, we are no fucking reaction. None. Zero. Nada. I know it was a light crowd, but the crowd reaction was dead. And the first thing I wrote was, we are no reaction. We are no reaction. But DIY did something tonight. WWE did something tonight they haven't done enough of in recent years. And DIY proved something tonight. Sometimes you have to give certain people extra time. Not everybody could win the crowd over in 5 minutes. By the time this match was over, DIY won that crowd, won me, and fucking for the first time that I could remember, and look, anybody knows my track record knows how much I'm a fan of Gargano. Ciampa, I'm a fan too, but he was not one of my big favorites, but Gargano always has been. This was the first time tonight that I said, you know what? I could buy into Gargano and Ciampa as a viable contender for the tag team championships. This was a match that you had to give 15 minutes. If you gave 5, 10, wasn't enough. What was weird about this match, and I took some notes for it, is there was a point during the match, I would say probably about 7 minutes in, that we thought the match was ending. Gargano was going to go for the hot tag. And basically what would have ended up happening is Ciampa gets the hot tag, Ciampa nails Dom, he nails JD, gets a little offense in, and then the bad guys will reverse it, get a little upper hand, and then it'll backfire, and then next thing you know, DIY hits the meeting in the middle, 1, 2, 3, match is over, fine. We get the hot tag. He goes for the hot tag, but Dominic distracts the ref. And the ref does not acknowledge the tag. And then we go to commercial. And if you watched it, it was like, oh, commercial. This was like the worst time to do a commercial. You felt like a little moment. Because and this is something that WWE does not do enough of these days. Teasing the hot tag and the ref gets distracted. I mean, look, I know we're old school. You know, people my age, I don't bring up old school as much as I used to because I get it. This day and age, not everybody is into what was cool in the 80s, especially. But I can't tell you how many times back in old school, you'd watch a tag team match and the referee would not be looking. And I don't want to do this to myself because it'll hurt. I'll just use my arm as an example. The referee will not be looking. And then you'll hear somebody go, or they'll go like this. They'll be like halfway in the middle of the ring. And the other guy hits the ring and hits a cheap shot. And they go like this. And the referee's not paying attention. And he hears the tag. So the other guy's in. And then when the ref is not looking, the other guy hits the ring, hits a cheap shot, hits the tags, just slaps his hand. The ref thinks it's a tag. Then the good guys legitimately go for a tag. But the ref is distracted for a second. So the other person tags in and the ref turned around. Hey, what are you doing? And they pull the guy who's the legitimate, person in the ring. No, I didn't see the tag. WWE does not do that enough. Does not do that enough. And tonight they did it with Gargano and Ciampa. And they go to commercial. And I'm like, oh, man. And then the best part, we come back from commercial and Ciampa already had the hot tag. I mean, it was at the very beginning, but we didn't even see the hot tag. It was during the commercial. So we come back from commercial, and he gets the hot tag, and we get this flurry that led to immediate "this is awesome" chants. And I tried to keep up with it. But what happened was Johnny Gargano knocks JD McDonough outside the ring, nails a slingshot to Dominic Mysterio. JD McDonough pulls Tommaso Ciampa off the apron so Gargano can't get a tag. We get the commercial. We come back from commercial and Ciampa's already in there. We missed the hot tag because it was a commercial. So then Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa hit a double team maneuver, power slam on Dominic Mysterio. Jade McDonough breaks it up. And then Tommaso Ciampa hits Jade McDonough with a high knee to his head. So now Ciampa hits JD in the head with a knee. JD then immediately proceeds with this vicious headbutt on Tommaso Ciampa. JD turns around, eats a super kick from Johnny Gargano. Dominic Mysterio with a super kick of his own to Johnny Gargano, and then Gargano on instinct hits this crazy clothesline to Dominic Mysterio. This all happened one after the other. All four guys are down, and the crowd immediately chanting, "This is awesome." Now keep in mind, before they even went to commercial, we thought we were at the end of the tag match, but we go to commercial, and it continued, hot tag, and now you got all four guys down. Now this is about 5-6 minutes after when we thought the match was going to end. And if the match would have ended at the time that it did before the commercial, DIY was nowhere near as over. Crowd started chanting, "This is awesome." So JD McDonough hits a standing Spanish fly onto Tommaso Ciampa, but Johnny Gargano breaks it up with another super kick. Dominic Mysterio nails Johnny Gargano with a drop kick, attempts a 619, but Gargano blocks it. Ciampa nails Dominic Mysterio with a running knee, and then Tommaso Ciampa with a beautiful DDT to Jade McDonough. They tag in Johnny Gargano, and they both hit the meeting in the middle to Jade McDonough, and they get the pin. And when that match ended, everybody in the arena was cheering. That was a perfect example of sometimes you have to give someone 5-10 extra minutes. You don't do it simply. See, I don't like criticizing AEW unless really deserving. And this is not a criticism right now, but a lot of people will understand what I'm about to say. For some reason, AEW, I think Tony Khan feels guilty to tell one of his wrestlers, "Look, you're going to lose in 2 minutes tonight." Like, if it's Wardlow, it's a little different because Wardlow's supposed to have Goldberg-type matches at one point. But you see sometimes matches that'll go on for 15 to 20 minutes, and you say to yourself, why as much as I love, Jay Lethal, he should not be going 20 minutes with Swerve Strickland. You know what I mean? If you have a match, sometimes if somebody's on a roll and they're dominating, like this week, I think we're getting Hook versus Samoa Joe, which I have no issues with. But Samoa Joe should beat him in minimum, or I should say maximum, 90 seconds. And even if it's 90 seconds, Joe's got to toy with him. Just taunt him. Just power move, attempt pin, pull him up, be an asshole. People think that Samoa Joe's a baby face, however you want to handle it. But Joe should not have more than a 90-second match with Hook. How does that look if it goes 5 minutes, 6 minutes, commercial break? Sometimes you can do that with certain people. Sometimes you can't. And when it comes to Johnny Gargano and DIY, Tommaso Ciampa could cut a passionate promo in the back, throw equipment around. He did that 2 weeks ago, and nobody gave a shit. The music hit today. Nobody reacted to it. You gave them 7-8 extra minutes, and they won everybody over, including me. Sometimes you have to give certain people extra minutes. Look at even Santos Escobar. For a while, Santos Escobar was not clicking. Just because he was LWO with Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar was not clicking like Lucha Underground Santos Escobar, like the guy that could legitimately be a heavyweight champion. And even with matches with Rey, the match he had with Rey, when they were still baby faces, both of them, if you watch the first half of that match, was kind of like, and it went on like 7-8 extra minutes than you thought it was going to go. By the time it ended, people were like, wow, that fucking match was incredible. Sometimes people are slow to get on that pace. And you have to really pay attention to your crowd. And with DIY, you had to give him extra time, and they gave him the extra time today, and it paid off. DIY probably had their best showing today. And it wasn't even their best match, but they really, really did a tremendous job. By the way, did anybody notice Dominic Mysterio's boots? I don't know if he's more. Look at the look on both of them. The look where you're like kind of like playing with your friend and your significant other enters the room. You're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble, right? What's up with those boots? I thought he was wearing emergency snow boots today because of the weather, but if you look closely, those are wrestling boots. Those are legitimate wrestling boots, no joke. We had the Acme Insta feud, Acme Insta match today. Adam Pearce is in the back with Chelsea Green and Indy Hartwell. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. And, you know, Candice and Indy are kind of like rubbing it in for Chelsea's loss last week. Chelsea wants another title match. Adam Pearce is like, you lost your rematch. So these four start talking to each other, and Adam Pearce is like, why don't you face each other tonight? And they did, and eventually Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae won. And the problems between Piper Niven and Chelsea Green continue. It was a very wonky match. Towards the very end of it, Candice LeRae hit a code breaker to Chelsea Green. Piper Niven ultimately gets in the ring and gets some offense, but then we saw a moment where Chelsea Green wanted to be tagged in, and Piper Niven was running towards Chelsea Green's way, and Chelsea goes for the tag, but Piper Niven was not. She was just trying to run the rope, and she knocked Chelsea Green off the rope, and then Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae hit a double-team maneuver and pinned Piper Niven. Before this match even started, we saw a video package where Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, this didn't really make sense, let's be honest. They said 2024 is their year because this year we are doing it our way. You know, get it, the way. 2024 will be our year because we're going to do it our way. Why didn't you do it your way last year? And if you do not have a good run in 2024, what does that say about your way? You got to be a little careful when you have, it's not their fault, obviously, but, everybody believes it's their year. It's pretty obvious, but, the promo today, I don't really think it did much to them. Again, to give this perception that Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell might be tag team contenders. You saw Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark today, and we get the same fucking rematch from 2 weeks ago, which was the same match from a month ago, determine the number one contenders for the tag titles because Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler beat Tegan Nox and Natty tonight. Another, the women's tag team division, especially on Raw, is awful. I mean, you have Zoe. The funny thing was you had Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler come out for their match. And yes, I'm going a little out of place, but we go to commercial and I'm saying to myself, who are they going to face? It's not going to be Katana Chance or Kata Carter. They're the tag champs and they're going to wrestle on SmackDown Friday. And I'm thinking of the roster and I'm like, all right, well, it's either got to be Nikki Cross and Xia Li, who both disappeared. Nikki Cross is not even lurking in the back anymore. Or we're going to get Tegan Nox and Natty again. And the crowd doesn't mind. The crowd thought the match was okay, but you see by just process of elimination, this is all we could get. And now suddenly Shayna Baszler is kind of acting like a heel again. They were more the heels in this. And if you remember my conversation with Kev back in late October, we were talking about why they have to have Shayna and Zoe as heels. Zoe Stark is not over as a babyface. It's not going to work. It's not going to work anytime soon. But they end up getting the victory on Natalya and Tegan Nox. I guess to try to make us think that Shinsuke Nakamura has a shot in this Royal Rumble. Could he end up being in the final six? I don't know. But they showed a video tonight. He's angry. He's hungry. He's going to eliminate 29 other men. And you knew for a fact during that promo, we were going to get the magic word, everyone. What is that magic word that I talked about the last couple of weeks with Shinsuke's promos? What's the magic words? Anybody in the chat room, do you pay attention? What's that one word? I heard it and I was like, Shinsuke cannot cut up one promo without saying the word Daga. D-A-G-A. Daga. Means butt. Not butt as in, butt. You said butt. No, I mean like butt. Like, I'm angry. I'm pissed. But I'm going to win the Rumble. Daga. So we got another Shinsuke promo. What am I leaving out here? We already talked about Bronson Reed. Oh, we have a few more things. Gunther makes his triumphant return tonight. And this was kind of weird because the last 2 weeks, Ludwig Kaiser took out Kofi, but wasn't like 2 weeks ago like a DIY problem? Like, where did Kofi suddenly come into all of this? But Gunther comes back, and he comes back just with Ludwig Kaiser, and he brings up while he was gone the last couple of weeks, let's take a look and let's see what has happened. And he shows Ludwig Kaiser destroying Kofi Kingston. And Gunther, first of all, Gunther has to let us know, he needs to remind us what happened in the Royal Rumble last year, that he was number one and he went all the way to the end and almost won. And this year he is in the Royal Rumble and he is going to win the Royal Rumble and go on to WrestleMania and become champion, world heavyweight champion. Well, he didn't say which title, but he's going to win the Rumble, main event WrestleMania, become champion. Then he has a little bit of retrospect of Ludwig Kaiser the last couple of weeks, and he's proud of Ludwig Kaiser. He thinks Ludwig Kaiser did a great job. He says that Ludwig Kaiser showed grit. He showed confidence. He showed courage. And he was very, very happy for Ludwig Kaiser. We get a hug, and then we get an interruption by the returning Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is not happy after what happened last week. He has a problem with Ludwig Kaiser. Last week, you took it too far with Kofi. Kofi is not here tonight because of you, but I'm here. And he challenges Kaiser to a match. And he says to Ludwig Kaiser, are you going to step up? Or do you have to get permission from your daddy? And then the crowd starts chanting, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? So Ludwig Kaiser, he says, what I did to Kofi last week is going to be nothing. Going to be nothing compared to what I'm going to do to you tonight. So the match is on, and we get the match, and now we're thinking, all right, we're leading into the Royal Rumble, obviously, and you want to have a little bit of tension for Ludwig Kaiser against somebody in the Royal Rumble. So during this match, you start thinking, okay, Ludwig Kaiser is going to do to Xavier Woods what Ludwig Kaiser did to Kofi last week. He's going to destroy Xavier Woods. And now we're going to go into the Royal Rumble in about 2 weeks, and Kofi and Xavier Woods are going to have revenge on their mind for Ludwig Kaiser. But we get a little twist tonight. So for those that didn't see it, and I have a screenshot of it here, Xavier Woods with a little bit of a different look this time around. I think somebody compared it to some ninja from, was it The Last Ninja? I don't remember the guy's name, but people were saying that tonight. And if you didn't see it, Xavier Woods, he's got fangs now. And Xavier Woods fucking started biting on Ludwig Kaiser's neck and started drawing blood. Shayna Baszler and NXT. And after the match is over, the referee is looking at Xavier Woods, and Xavier Woods like, what? What did I do? And Xavier Woods has got all his blood in his mouth, and he's showing the fangs, and he's got all his wild hair kind of looking like Don King. And Xavier Woods now is a vampire. No, I'm only kidding. Somebody photoshopped that. That's not true. What ended up happening was Xavier Woods got pissed the fuck off. And people are like, that didn't happen. Of course it didn't happen. So somebody did a Photoshop tonight, and I was like, that's pretty quick to do that. But no, Xavier Woods got pissed off, and he picked up a chair, one of those big announcers chairs, and he threw it against Ludwig Kaiser, and the referee was counting to 10. And right before he got to 10, he hits him with the chair, so the referee says, you're disqualified. So now we get kind of like the repeat of last week, but this time around, though, Xavier Woods gets more of the upper hand, and Xavier Woods starts brawling with Ludwig Kaiser, picks up a chair, starts bashing him with it, and Ludwig Kaiser ends up getting out of Dodge. And, Xavier Woods, now that's a real, there's no fangs there. But Xavier Woods did get his mouth busted open a little bit, busted his lip during the match. But it ends up in a disqualification in favor of Ludwig Kaiser. Now, after the match was over, Xavier Woods is in the back about to be interviewed, and Ludwig Kaiser attacks him. But somebody would come to make the save for Xavier Woods. And lo and behold, we used to have the New Day and the Usos feuding all the time. This time around, Jey Uso makes the save for Xavier Woods, and we get a stand down with Ludwig Kaiser and Jey Uso. And I'm kind of buying into that. I'm buying into it. Goes to show you that they don't have much for Jey Uso right now. But you get to elevate Ludwig Kaiser. I'll buy into that, definitely. All right. Here we got the match, Ivar versus Akira Tozawa. Akira Tozawa comes out there with Maxine Dupree. We have the match. The match only goes about 2 minutes. Ivar completely dominating. Tozawa's laid out on the mat. Ivar starts climbing the rope. He's going to hit the moonsault. Maxine Dupree hits the apron. And Maxine Dupree shaking her ass a little bit. Not Stacy Keibler-esque where, you're extremely physically aroused, but more of like cute. Like, oh, you're cute. But just enough to distract Ivar. And here comes Akira Tozawa. And Akira Tozawa climbs the ropes and hits a sunset flip powerbomb. And the ref, 1, 2, 3. And sure enough, Akira Tozawa gets the win. Crowd pops for it because they weren't expecting it. After the match is over, it was funny because Valhalla ran into Maxine Dupree, who also ran into Akira Tozawa. So Valhalla kind of knocked them both down. Valhalla with a little bit of revenge on Maxine Dupree, headbutt, throws her out of the ring, and then Ivar hits a moonsault onto Tozawa. And then after they're in the back, they're with the Creed brothers, and Ivy Nile is not happy. Ivy Nile's going to go to Adam Pearce. And we would find out later on that next week we'll get an Ivy Nile versus Valhalla. Also next week, Chad Gable, because of Ivar being a bully, Chad Gable will be taking on Ivar. So you realize now for the last month, Ivar has been stuck pretty much with Alpha Academy. Akira Tozawa, then Otis, then back to Akira Tozawa, and now Chad Gable. And 5 weeks go by. Because then you have the Royal Rumble, and Ivar is not doing diddly squat in the Royal Rumble. And you see why we call it the Smoke and Mirrors Tour. But hey, if the crowd likes it, I guess it's okay, right? By the way, they're trying to push a little bit of a storyline with referee Eddie Orengo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Who was the referee when Chelsea Green lost last week? The rematch. He was the referee again today. Honestly, I don't think anybody gives a shit about it. They stopped. I think people are still kind of annoyed that Samantha Irvin doesn't announce Chelsea Green like she used to. It's funny because she still announces Maxine Dupree many times. It's Maxine Dupree. So I don't know why they refuse to, do that with Chelsea Green, but they have. So that leaves us with 2 matches. I'm just going through my notes. We did have a backstage segment. For some reason, Rhea Ripley is always fucking mad. Always mad. Yes, Dominic Mysterio and Jada McDonald lost, but Rhea Ripley, every time you see her in a segment now, she's never happy. She's always angry. Damian Priest shows up, and look at the look of Finn Balor. Finn's like, what's that? And he sees this big wad of cash, and Damian Priest is like, that's my cut. And Finn Balor's like, where did you get that money? And, R-Truth's hawking merchandise. R-Truth. Yeah. By the way, big shout out to everybody from Little Rock, Arkansas, who has like beautifully crisp, clean, almost like I bought it on Amazon, a fake stack of 500 singles. I mean, that money looks a little bit too perfect to be hawking stuff on the street. Because if anybody's ever like, if you ever bought something on the street, hey, you got a dime bag? Yeah. Give me $10. And you give the person the $10, and what do? Or they'll just like grab it and shove it in their pocket. Like R-Truth's like perfectly like organizing the money. So Finn Balor's got his eye on the money, and we would get that match a little bit later on. Did you catch the entrance, the graphic of the Judgment Day when it came out for their match? That is legit. I didn't pick up on it the first time around. I thought it was photoshopped, but no, they actually have R-Truth in the opening now with the Judgment Day. It's like a rolling graphic, like it's not supposed to be there. But again, they're going to do this as long as the merch still sells, and the fans are still buying it. They're going to milk this as close as they can to WrestleMania. So we have the tag match of, it's non-title, by the way, the Awesome Truth versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Funny thing is, Finn Balor comes out the whole Judgment Day, and R-Truth comes out with them. And they're annoyed because they're like, why is this guy coming out with us? He's supposed to face us in the match. Now, if you remember, I told you earlier that Damian Priest told R-Truth, don't tag in tonight. So they hit the ring, and R-Truth with more comedy. He's posing with them, and they turn around like, what the fuck are you doing? So we had a comedy in the match. And early on, here's R-Truth. Look at all that money. He's given money to Finn Balor. Damian Priest, look at Damian Priest's face. Damian Priest is almost laughing there. You could see it. He's got this look that he just wants to crack up. Even Dominic, to an extent. J.D. McDonough keeps the poker face. Dominic, at times, you could see that he wants to laugh as well. But R-Truth's giving everybody money. Yes, it was a little bit corny. But, the match, R-Truth started it. Was going at it with Finn Balor. Dom tried to get involved in it at some point. It was funny because before the match started, R-Truth is hugging Dom because R-Truth just gave him a whole bunch of money. So R-Truth, Dom is happy. They're hugging. Later on, R-Truth would get a little physical. J.D. McDonough gets nothing because as far as R-Truth is concerned, J.D. McDonough is not in the Judgment Day. But the match is going on, and R-Truth is in there mostly with Finn Balor. Miz gets in there. Miz then gets a little bit of offense with Damian Priest. Damian Priest gets the upper hand. But then we get that awkward moment. Basically, Damian Priest knocks the Miz outside the ring. And R-Truth is in the ring. And Damian Priest is looking to the outside of the, facing Miz. And here's R-Truth, and he's setting up. And it looks like he's about to hit Damian Priest. And Damian Priest turns around, and R-Truth stops. Like, let me take the graphic off. And Damian Priest is like, what are you doing? And R-Truth's like, hey, you just hit the Miz. So R-Truth is kind of torn. Damian Priest is a little bit torn. And, you could see that the crowd wants Damian Priest and R-Truth to get along. But ultimately, Damian Priest decides, nah, man, still Judgment Day. Still got to take care of business in the ring. He picks up R-Truth, dumps him with the South of Heaven, and Finn Balor pins R-Truth. So they win. After the match is over, Finn Balor is pissed off at R-Truth. J.D. McDonough isn't having it. Dominic Mysterio is not happy. And Damian Priest, he's got a little bit of concern on his face. Little bit of maybe sympathy for what happened to R-Truth, but Damian Priest ultimately nails R-Truth. So that leaves us with the main event, and that also leaves us with an important confrontation tonight. And that was between Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, and I will talk about that now. Main event, I think we pretty much, actually, you know what? Before we talk, we could get into the main event first, and then we'll just briefly talk about Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Because that's really interesting that they decided to do this now. Actually, no, let's just talk about Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch now. Rhea Ripley hits the ring. Crowd is big time behind Rhea Ripley. That's why the more this goes on, it feels like when we compare the Judgment Day to the Bloodline, Rhea Ripley is the Roman Reigns. That's really what it feels like. It feels like Finn Balor and Damian Priest are the Usos. You know, Rhea Ripley is the Roman Reigns. Dominic Mysterio and Paul Heyman, it's, you know, different dynamic. There is no Solo Sikoa between the two of them. You know, it's not everything is going to be identical. You don't want a member of the Judgment Day just like this all the time. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. You know, like, that's my Solo Sikoa impersonation. But that's really what we got. So Rhea Ripley comes out and is getting cheered big time. And Rhea Ripley is sick and tired. She's sick and tired of people like Nia Jax who run their mouth and says that this is their women's division. And Rhea Ripley says it's her division. She is the leader of this division. And Rhea Ripley gives advice to the women's locker room, the women's roster. It seemed like she might have froze a little bit and, you know, bailed herself out, but she's looking in the camera. She says, this is my division, and she's got a message for all the women entering the Royal Rumble. If you want to waste your WrestleMania opportunity, then choose me. Otherwise, choose someone else, because in the end, mommy always ends up on top. And then immediately Becky Lynch's music hits. Nia Jax, not there, even though I saw a video package earlier, but Becky Lynch comes out. And this is what I said at the very beginning of tonight. Becky Lynch is in the ring with Rhea Ripley. And this was strange to get this tonight. Becky Lynch says, we are two very different people from two very different lands who ended up having similar paths. But there is a difference. One of us went on to main event WrestleMania. The other did not. She says that, you know, in the ring, one has the strength of a bear, the other a lion, and a lot of fed lines. But then she says, here we stand, the two very best to do it. But there's this voice inside me that keeps saying that maybe Rhea is better than her. So Becky needs to prove to herself that Rhea is not better than her. Becky needs to prove it. Becky needs to win the Royal Rumble. Becky needs to point to the sign for WrestleMania. Becky needs to defeat Rhea Ripley and take that title from her. I need this. I need the Royal Rumble. I need the point to the sign. I need WrestleMania to be mommy versus the man. And Rhea Ripley looks at Becky Lynch, and Rhea Ripley says, there's only one person who wants you to win that match more than you, and that's me. I'll see you at WrestleMania. Now, like I said at the beginning of the show, this promo gave me two vibes. First of all, everything that was said would have fit better after the Royal Rumble match ended. Saying all this now and Jade Cargill wins, or Bianca Belair wins, or Bayley wins, anybody but Becky Lynch, it makes this look kind of cheesy and moot point. Unless Becky wins the Elimination Chamber. So why you would cut this and plant that seed so blatant, and if Becky doesn't win, and now it kind of feels like it would be too obvious. I mean, look, a lot of people think Cody's winning, and if Cody wins the Rumble, it's very predictable. Are you going to have Becky win the Rumble also and make both matches predictable? I'm not sure about that. So saying all it is and it doesn't happen makes all this moot point. That's why I think this match could very well happen. But I also felt this was what Rhea said to Charlotte last year. I need to prove to myself. I'm better than you. I need to prove it to myself. I need to take that title. I must take that title. It was kind of like Rhea talking to Charlotte. That's what it felt like tonight. Just really strange to get that promo tonight. But we did. We did. And in 2 weeks, we will know who won that Royal Rumble match. So that leaves us with the main event tonight. Earlier in the night, we saw Seth Rollins enter the building with his daughter. Very, very cute. I think her name is Rue, R-O-U-A, R-O-U-X, I believe. That's her name, Rue, Ro. So Seth Rollins enters the building wearing sunglasses, I might add, and it's pitch black outside. Later on, Seth Rollins would have the interview segment, and that was where we were talking about how, like, social media was making a big deal because you saw Seth's breath. Yeah, that's what happens when you're in a cold room. But Seth is interviewed and, about the match tonight. Jinder Mahal later on, he is focused, he is zoned in, and he still has no shot of winning. And I got to give props to everybody out there that actually was trying to convince people that WWE was going to have Jinder win tonight just because of the Tony Khan stuff, which is just ridiculous. But people actually were really trying to push that. But we get the main event match tonight. And, when you see Drew McIntyre earlier bring up Damian Priest again, and we were told, and I think this is probably the most important thing about the main event tonight, we were told that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest were facing each other earlier in the night. So we already knew this match was happening next week. So now keep in the back of your mind, Drew is taking on Damian Priest next week. So as we expected, Jinder Mahal comes out there with Indus Sher, and we have the match going on. And early in the match, we see Damian Priest come out with the briefcase. Damian Priest has got this smirk on his face, and now you kind of know exactly where this is going. No, we're not getting a Damian Priest cash in. No, Jinder's not going to win, and then Damian's going to cash in. No, it's not happening. When you know that Drew McIntyre is facing Damian Priest next week, the idiot, as Drew calls him, and 2 weeks in a row now, Drew has said to CM Punk and Cody that if it wasn't for Damian Priest, he'd be champion right now. You see where this is going. So we get the match, and early on they're playing off that Seth Rollins has got an injury to his leg. He was fine a little bit later on when he jumped off the top rope and landed on Veer Mahan. But he was selling the knee a little bit during the match, tried for the pedigree, didn't have enough of it. And, we're starting to get close to the 11 o'clock hour, and we're wondering, okay, how are we going to get Drew McIntyre involved with this? And sure enough, moments later, here comes Drew McIntyre. He's out at ringside with Damian Priest. They have a face-to-face, and they start going blows, going at it with hitting each other. And the referee is paying attention to Damian Priest and Jinder Mahal. And that allows Indus Sher to get involved a little bit. And we get a couple of cheap shots to Seth Rollins. Jinder Mahal nails a couple of moves. And the ref is counting, and you have Michael Cole like, no, not this way. And people are starting to think, holy shit, is Jinder going to win the World Heavyweight Championship this way? Because of Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre distracting the ref, and this allowed? No. No matter what Jinder Mahal or Indus Sher was going to do in this match tonight, Seth Rollins was going to be on top. You're not going to do it because of what happened last week with the Tony Khan stuff. This was to keep Seth Rollins a little busy leading into the Royal Rumble. And as we said earlier in this show, we don't even know what Seth Rollins is going to do at the Rumble yet. This may end up being it. Believe it or not, this may end up being next week. We might even see some dumb injury angle that maybe somebody lays out Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins is a no-go for the Royal Rumble at all, even though there's no advertised match for Seth Rollins. So what ends up happening a few moments later, Seth Rollins with the curb stomp pins Jinder Mahal. We're right at the 11 o'clock hour. Seth Rollins gets the win. Crowd was fine. I mean, there was a few moments where they thought that maybe Jinder could actually pull it out. But Seth Rollins ends up winning. And the next thing you know, we hear Nikki Bella in the Barmageddon shit. And that's when I raced to turn the TV off and get ready for the show. But that was your episode of Raw tonight. Not a bad show, but if you missed it and you read the results and you just picture in the back of your head what we talked about, definitely a passable show. You could pass it. Definitely you could miss it, and you're really not missing all that much. The Becky Rhea stuff was just strange. The DIY match was great. A lot of other stuff was just filler. But next week, here's what we got next week. Just a quick reminder. Chad Gable will be taking on Ivar. We have Ivy Nile taking on Valhalla. We got Drew McIntyre taking on Damian Priest. And then, as we said earlier, we got the face-to-face coming with Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. They are the 1-2 favorites for the Royal Rumble, and you best damn believe that they're going to be in the final group. I don't see either one get. You know what? Maybe Seth Rollins causes CM Punk to get eliminated. Then CM Punk goes on to the chamber, wins the chamber, and insists on taking Seth Rollins' championship away from him. Still not fond of Seth Rollins defending that championship against CM Punk, but we will know sooner than later. So NXT tomorrow, obviously Cora Jade cannot be part of this, but we're going to have a battle royal to determine the number one contender for Lyon Vicaria's championship. We also have a tag team match tomorrow with Tatum Paxley and Lyra Vicaria versus Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez. Oba Femi, who is the new NXT North American champion, he will be there. We will have Ridge Holland taking on Joe Coffey, which should be very interesting. And then we have two matches with the Dusty Classic. We have Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, versus Chase University, led by Duke Hudson. I don't know where they're going to go with that. I honestly think Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde will advance. And the match that I told you was not going to be called off. We have Malik Blade and Idris Inofi versus Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. I want to see how they handle Carmelo Hayes if he tries to get out of the match and having Trick Williams, do the majority of the work. So we will see. We will see. Three things before we go. I have a video clip for you, and it's Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. I'm going to show it to you for two reasons. Before I do that, and I hope you forgive me, Will Chisholm, I should have did it right at the beginning of the show, but maybe there's a good segue now since we'll mention TNA in a second. He sent me this 10 spot yesterday. I didn't see it, but he said with the reports of Naomi and Julia going to the WWE, I didn't hear anything about Julia, but I don't get why fans who act fake mad. They act like wrestlers are dumb and they don't know what they're doing. I personally think Julia would be better fit for AEW or even TNA right now. Julia is not going to leapfrog 7 women. I could come up with 7 or 8 on the main roster right now in the WWE. Jade Cargill is about to appear, and a lot of people think the Royal Rumble. They've been awfully quiet about Jade Cargill. Yes, she had a death in the family, but, she's still training. The more quiet they are, the more I'm convinced she debuts at the Rumble. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's number 30. You're not going to take away any of that attention for Julia. If Julia were to sign, she'll be in NXT. And she'll be in NXT probably for a year. That's not a knock on Julia, but there is no need for Julia right now. There is absolutely no need for Julia right now. Trinity is returning. A lot of people are reporting that Trinity is officially done with TNA. That's actually not true. She has to at least 1 or 2 more matches she's got to work. She'll probably work this week. I don't know if she'll work next week, but then the Royal Rumble comes and then that's it. she's done with TNA. I think Trinity returning to WWE is best for her. Let's see what happens with Mercedes. But my honest answer to you is anybody you come across that are fake mad, I would avoid those people. Avoid the people that have these fake emotions just to, get people's attention. I saw this stuff about WWE in a sloppy shop because of Cora Jade's injury. Like, to the people that wrote that shit today, I wouldn't waste my time typing a nasty response back to them. They're not worth it. But people do that. They acknowledge stupidity so they can get noticed. That's why if you notice, every time there is a dumb trending, like somebody could say Eddie Guerrero was a B-plus player. And it's stupid and it's dumb, but you'll see 1 million people react to it. So what do people do? They comment about it just so when everybody looks at the dumb post, because you're right underneath the comment, you get a view. And if you get enough of those views, you get paid for it. You see smart people answering dumb posts, not because they want to school someone or give someone knowledge or try to smarten them up. No, they just want to add revenue. And that's why I don't waste my time on Twitter anymore. Ignore the people that are fake mad. Dream 101, thank you for the 2 spot. We don't see eye to eye, but I'm a huge fan, and I appreciate that. I'm not here for everybody to agree with me. I appreciate people who will disagree with me as well. You just, make points. I totally respect other people's views about things. Just make points. You just don't say, oh, that person sucks. Why does he suck? Because he's not good. What about him that he's not good? Oh, well, he sucks. Like, got to give a little bit more than that. But I appreciate that. And Jay Carlos, thank you again, my friend. I think you did this for me yesterday too, and I appreciate that. Sent the 10 spot, just showing a little bit of support tonight, and I thank you for that, my friend. Thank you. So, with that said, we got to start wrapping it up. We are at 1 hour and 45 minutes. I think we covered everything we need. Oh, Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth. They had Hard to Kill. I have not watched it yet. I plan on watching it on Wednesday. All intents and purposes, it was a very good event. I saw, what was Dana Brooks' name again? Ash D'Elegance. Did I say Eve D'Elegance yesterday? Ash D'Elegance. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Could there be a little tribute to Ashley Mazzaro in there somewhere? I don't. Probably not. But Ash D'Elegance sounds like a car. I have not watched what she did as of yet, but I did watch this, and I'm going to share with you. Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, made his TNA in-ring debut, I believe, yesterday. And he faced Zachary Wentz. And I think I have the graphic here. Yes, I do. TNA advertised their event called Snake Eyes. Took place Sunday in Las Vegas, Nevada, the day after Hard to Kill's pay-per-view, and Nick Nemeth took on Zachary Wentz. I'm assuming that Nick Nemeth won the match. But what I noticed was he cut a promo earlier in the night before he had the match. Now, maybe I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt on this one. Maybe it was really early and fans were not in the building as of yet. I don't think so, though, because why would you have Nick Nemeth cut a promo like way before all the fans are supposed to be there? So I wanted to show you the promo because it's pretty cool. I mean, he cuts a really good promo. I'm not going to play the Okada thing. The Okada thing was, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. People say, I hate TNA. I do not hate TNA. Thank you, TNA. And I'm like, you had a whole bunch of Roman Reigns guys in the crowd with the fake laughing. He's like, people say, I hate TNA. Oh, I don't hate TNA. I'm like, what was the point of that? But the Dolph Ziggler one was interesting, but not only was his promo interesting, look at the crowd in the background. Am I missing something, or does this look like a horrendously horrible turnout? Maybe I'm wrong. You be the judge.
Hard to Kill was one hell of a moment, wasn't it? TNA is back, baby. Start to finish. From the opening match to that main event, there was something in the air, and damn it, I loved every second. I've been very fortunate, and I've done 19 years and a hell of a lot of things.
All right, come on, hurry up. I didn't realize how boring this was.
Never lost it, damn straight. I was very fortunate to rack up a lot of accomplishments in 19 years. But I did it all in one world.
There's those Roman Reigns fake laughs.
To you guys, this start right here, it's a little intimidating. I got some emotions running through. You say I still got it, I never lost it.
You never lost it.
This is bad. I thought this was better
before. There is a lot of
before.
emotions, and that's very real. I'm intimidated. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I can't. I watched it earlier. I thought it was cool. This looks like a depressing bingo hall now. It's, I don't know. Maybe that was after the show was over and a lot of people went home already. It's Las Vegas. I don't think the weather was bad. I didn't hear anything about any mass, incidents. Let's just say it like that. I don't know. He says I'm intimidated. But what? Empty chairs? I gotta watch Impact this week. I gotta look at that turnout. Because Hard to Kill had a great turnout. But did they turn out because El Hijo de Vikingo and Okada and rumored surprises? And now those surprises came it's still TNA. The ratings last week was awful. And the week before is awful. So we're now 2 Thursdays into 2024 under the TNA banner, and their ratings are still not even 80,000. If they don't break 100,000, or better yet, they can't get that demo to 0.02. Let that sink in. 0.02 would still be 7 times less than Rampage, would be 26 times less than SmackDown, would be 15 times less than Collision, and that's a 0.02. If you can't get to that with your roster right now, I don't know what you do. They might as well just get off of Access, do the streaming. I did find out that you could pay 99 cents on YouTube a month and watch Impact every week on their channel 30 minutes after it's live. That's not a bad deal. 50 cents a week to be able to watch Impact on YouTube, that's not a bad deal. But I think get off of Access, because as long as that rating is there, it looks dismal. If they're on a streaming service, you can't predict the rating. That's why, like I said, if WWE RAW goes to Amazon, bye-bye ratings. If AEW leaves Warner Brothers Discovery and goes to Fight or just streams on a streaming service, whatever platform, it could even be Paramount. Bye-bye ratings. We've talked about that a year ago. You go to a streaming service, No more ratings. No more waiting until 4 o'clock to see what was the Dynamite number, what was the Rampage number, what was the Raw rating, what was this. Won't get that no more. So that's something to think about. My friends, I'm out of here. I'm not going to lie, in 2 weeks, it will be a little bit different doing these shows. All the videos, all the pictures, we could still do that a little bit because on Discord, we can share pictures. So that aspect, the visual part of it will still be there. But, not being in front of the camera on Mondays is going to be a little bit different. Take a little bit of workload off, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope you could be with us, for at least the 29th of January. That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Next Tuesday, Kevin and I are going to do Royal Rumble predictions. And we have a couple of thoughts. We'll share them. And what else did I want to say? There was something else. Oh, I know what it is. Every Sunday, we've been doing a sit-down at 8 o'clock Eastern every Sunday night. Now, with Kevin and I doing Mondays, going back to what we used to do and do best, the need of doing the Don Tony show on Saturdays at noon is not needed as much right now because most of that news Kevin and I will be covering. There will be special DT show episodes from time to time. When something is needed, I could pop on anytime I want, and I'll just let everybody know, look, I'm going to go live in an hour if you want to join me. That obviously can happen. But the sit down, I'm letting everybody vote right now what day and time you want to sit down the air because that show's remaining because the interaction is tremendous and that show is based on what you want me to talk about. And that's one of the greatest things about that show. You choose the topics. So if most of you out there are thinking similar, then obviously the topics we're talking about is shit that you want to hear discussed. The choices right now is Friday night after SmackDown. Saturdays, there's, I think, an afternoon and an evening time slot, and then Sundays. So you got to go in the community section on YouTube and vote because by the end of the week, we will know where the sit-down will be airing. That will kick into effect the first week in February. So we still have 2 more sit-down episodes on normal schedule, but starting February, it may move to a different day and a different time. So, all right. My friends, I hope you enjoyed this show. I thank you, as always, for spending some time with me. And, keep supporting everything that we do. And that's why we're still around. And after all of these years, to have your support is very, very humbling and appreciated. Will definitely never go unacknowledged. So I have some shout outs coming in a moment. Some of our special channel members here, some main family men, and some members that are head of the table on our Patreon page. We acknowledge them on these shows too. So thank you all. Be well. Check out these special people on your screen.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.